Hey, Sister Kate here. We are at a local harvest festival, and what makes this different from the years in the past when we videoed this is a rich benefactor has redone a lot of this town. And so the fencing, some of the buildings are new, but you will remember from the past they had sorghum and showed how to make molasses from it, which it's like an all-day process. Last time we came, they had a mule right here pulling around to run the crusher, and this year they couldn't get a mule, so they've got a mule. They've got a motorized mule, and a girl is just driving it in a circle while these gentlemen fit the sorghum canes into the grinder behind her, and they've got this huge, probably Osage log to be the boom arm. And so it's a modern mule pulling the grinding action, and then that crushed fluid flows down into the molasses cooker. And we have driven around our area and seen one of these things set up in the front of someone's house. So this definitely was a thing, but you can see how involved this whole process was. So the fluid comes into this pan, and then all day long you have to have a fire under here, and as it moves down the pans, and this is a tool they use to push it, as it moves down these slots, it slowly gets heated and hardens up, and it takes several hours to make the molasses out of that. You've got their wood stacked up, and there's the chimney action. Got a big long chimney, goes all the way up. So that is the modern version of the sorghum molasses video that I took like 7 years ago. But the most important part of this whole operation, the cooker and that grinder in the middle. You see the men feeding the cane into the grinder. That grinder is great big. Yeah, modern mule, old-timey mule, right? But that grinder right there, the wheels turn and everything, and that's huge. That's one of those mechanical devices from another age that just is simple and does its job, and it has a lot of power. Okay, there's Pastor Joe. Shalom, Pastor. Good morning. It's pretty daggone tall.
And this is amaranth, isn't it?
Yeah, this is amaranth for you guys who like the wild edibles. It's also called pigweed. It has a distinctive pink looking part of the plant right there, stem, and then these little seed heads that grow out on top of it.
What kind of birds are these? It looks almost like grapes. But...
That's another kind of cocklebur. That's the amaranth seed head, and this is edible. It's full of little seeds that you cook, kind of like rice or quinoa, and it's good for you. It's been around forever. I thought it was a weed, and it is, but it's also something you can eat. And then that's a cocklebur. That'll get caught on a horse's tail like nobody's business.
That looks the same as that.
Okay, so...
I'm going to save this for some seeds.
Sure.
It does look like Milo seeds, though, or marijuana seeds or something.
Right? So, you can see the dark sky, too, but I'd say these things are at least 10 feet tall. Yeah, maybe 8. And there's a whole field of them. So they cut these down. They look a lot like corn. The plant does, and also sorghum is a kind of cane. It looks like a sugar cane. It's got sections to it right there, right there. And then they dragged them down there and ground them up. So that's the rest of the sorghum story.
So you just want the phone number on the ticket then?
All right, so this is another part of the show. Beautiful quilting. Quilting has just taken off in the last years, where people used to hand quilt like this. You can kind of tell by the irregularity of the stitching that somebody hand quilted that. And then all the way up to, and I'm making an assumption here, it could be wrong, machine quilting, where things are really uniform and you get these loops and things. But it went from necessity, where if you were poor, you made do with materials that that you had in your home, leftover feed sacks and dress material, and you made blankets out of them. There was no Walmart in the 1800s when people made these by hand, in the early 1900s. But they also became a way to remember things, to use materials that reminded you of a bed or a pair of pants or a person. And now you get things like this where it's art in a whole nother form. And it's fun, it takes time, but you produce some beautiful, beautiful things. So we're on the steps of an old schoolhouse, and this is the grounds of the fair. Looks like an old tractor display down there, and then part of that split rail fencing. And here's another interesting object. This is why I love coming to festivals like this. I don't know if y'all know what these are, but these things are super valuable. These are millstones.
That's why they're chained down.
That's why they're chained down. You see somebody carved, so
This
that's
one's easier to see.
right. I'm talking about the whole square. Like what supported it, you had these pins off the ends and a big beam, right? So it turned, and then they were graded. They had these gradations in them to increase the grinding. Yep, and then flow out and fall out. And this is one of those things that's going to be hard to replicate nowadays, should stuff fall apart.
I looked into getting a millstone. I think the only place in America that makes them is in Maine.
Yep.
And a stone that big right there is outrageous.
Like $1,200 or something.
More.
But look at the work that goes into it. And I made a comment on a video before about that, and someone said, well, they're made of metal nowadays, and they are. They are made of metal, and you can get smaller ones for your kitchen. But to do a community mill, it's a whole other thing to think about. All right, America, bless you, shalom.